Congressman Glenn Ivey was in the spotlight mid-March when he became the first Democratic lawmaker on Capitol Hill to call for the Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer to step down.
Fast forward 2 weeks, Schumer hasn't gone anywhere, but the Democratic Party continues floundering, at least according to some polls. A Harvard Capps Harris poll released recently found the party is at an 8-year low. 37% of voters said they approved of the party in March, just slightly up from 36% in February. Joining us to discuss where the party goes from here is Democratic Representative from Maryland's 4th District, Glenn Ivey. Welcome, Congressman.
Thanks for having me.
Great. So I just wanted to get your reaction to some news today, because we quoted one poll in the introduction there, but I'm sure you saw Data for Progress, a progressive organisation, is out with a new poll, and it included testing your colleague, Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, against Senate Minority Leader Schumer in a Senate primary among likely Democratic voters. And the Congresswoman got 55% and the Senate Minority Leader 36%. What's your reaction to that? What do you think that says about the party generally?
I don't really know what to make of that, but I think from the standpoint of where the party's going as a whole right now, and our poll numbers have been low. I think in the generic polls, I think in the House certainly, which is where there's the best chance for taking the majority back, our individual polling numbers are really strong. I think I'm at 90%, for example. And I think the other part of this too to pay attention to is what's going to happen to polls overall with Donald Trump and Elon Musk, especially in the wake of these tariffs. I mean, I heard people talking about circuit breakers today with respect to the impact on the stock market. I haven't heard that talk in a long time. And so this is going to be an across the board impact from an economic standpoint on every American at every level. And it flies in the face of the promises he made, which was he was going to help make a better economy and put money in people's pockets. Instead, he's taking it out. I mean, Bidenomics, people were complaining about 6 months ago, is starting to look pretty good now. And then the other part too, along the lines of the direction the Democrats are moving in, we've had a couple of good weeks here. The Supreme Court win in Wisconsin, I think, was a big pivotal moment, and certainly from the standpoint of potential redistricting in that state. The 2 Florida seats that we didn't gain them, but those were plus 30 and 36 Trump's districts. I think the numbers, the Democrats lost by in the 14 to 15 range. So, those numbers have cut by more than half. And Trump's been making a lot of mistakes, frankly. I think the public's getting tired of him. They're getting tired of Elon Musk. And I think there's going to be a real strong pressure, especially in the wake of the economic impact, to get some kind of a check on the Trump administration. And I think the House will be the first place people look.
Getting into your fight with Chuck Schumer, is your contention that you feel that Schumer has not been doing a good enough job of fighting against the Trump administration? And if you were to have a conversation with him right now, what would you recommend that he do to win back disaffected Democrats?
Well, I think I was pretty clear at the time I made that statement. It was the deep disappointment with the vote on the continuing resolution. And I think that's been borne out by the continued and massive cuts to government employees. I think we had an additional 20,000 with respect to HHS just a few days ago. And they continue to be doing this across the board. And I think it was the first chance for, members of the Democratic Party in the House and the Senate to actually have a chance to push back, to fight back against the Trump administration. And it was a big missed opportunity in my view. So my hope is that, everybody has decided we need to get on the same page and oppose and fight the Trump administration when and where we can. We're going to have another shot at this one in 6 months. So hopefully, he'll be on the right page with us by then. And the other point too, I think there's a huge development in the Senate is Cory Booker. His 25-hour speech, I thought, was really energizing and inspiring to Democrats, not just in the Senate, but in the House and across the country in a way that I haven't seen in a long time. So, it's clear that there's strong Senate leadership, and we support that effort. I went over and as did many other House Democrats, we sat on the House floor in support of Corey and what he was doing, and I think that was a strong piece. And then the last thing I'll mention, and there's these rallies that are now growing across the country. There's a grassroots pushback. There's a big national rally coming up. I don't know when this is going to show, but it's going to be Saturday, which is tomorrow from the time we're taping this. And it's in all 50 states. They're expecting tens of thousands of people to be showing up at these different locations. And I think that's going to be a strong unifying statement as well. So, and I forgot to mention the courts. We continue to win in courts to such an extent that Republicans are frustrated now and have started talking about dramatic and extreme measures like impeachment and trying to threaten these judges. But the federal judges are staying strong. They continue to put injunctions in place that slow down what the Trump administration is trying to do, or in some instances, tell them to reverse it, reinstate fired government employees, bring back people who were deported and the like. I think that's going to be coming in the near future. So I think we're moving in the right direction in Congress, in the courts, and in the communities.
Your mention of Senator Booker, Congressman, invites an obvious question. Would Senator Booker be a better Senate Democratic leader than Senator Schumer?
Well, I don't even know if Corey's interested in being a leader. That's something that would have to be directed to him. But I think at the end of the day, the key point is that the Democrats in Congress, the House and the Senate, get on the same page. We can't allow another mishap like we had with the continuing resolution. We've got to be able to work together on those fronts and make sure when we get those opportunities, we make the most of them.
But I don't want to.
Just the other day, we had bills on the House floor that were voted down. Now, not as important as the continuing resolution, but I think it does show that there's the potential to peel off House Republicans if we continue to apply pressure in the right districts. And I think the votes that I just mentioned in Florida and the congressional races and the Supreme Court race in Wisconsin are big steps in the right direction on that front.
Well, sure, but I just want to be clear, because it seems like the Senator Schumer's position on the continuing resolution was not just a problem in and of itself, but sort of eroded your confidence in his leadership more generally, no?
Well, as I said, it was the first chance we had to really fight back against the Trump administration. He chose to lead a contingent of Democrats to vote in support of the Trump position. In fact, to such an extent that, you got the thank you note from Donald Trump. Whenever you get that, if you're a Democrat, if you're getting thank you notes from Donald Trump, you're in the wrong spot. So my view is that was a huge miss. We need to not allow any more missed opportunities like that, especially of that magnitude. We're only going to get a few shots at this because he's trying to do most of this through executive order, so he doesn't have to use legislation. I think he's running out of space to do that, and eventually he's going to have to come back to us. But in the short run, when we get a chance to do something on the legislative front, we've got to do it. And we've got to do it in a way that's unified and coordinated and strong. And that was not what happened on that CR vote.
I wanted to ask you, while we have you, about a more local issue. The Maryland Senate recently approved a budget that includes $1.68 billion in tax and fee increases. It's the largest in history. The Maryland Department of Legislative Services at the end of Hogan's term projected a surplus in the budget through 2027. That changed after Governor Wes Moore instituted his first budget. Now they're projecting a deficit, which is why this tax increase has apparently gone through. What's your message to Marylanders who are rightfully very concerned about the impact that this tax and fee increase is going to have on their pocketbooks?
Well, it looks like Hogan hit the ball, frankly. I think he maybe cooked the books a little bit and sort of left Wes with a big bad surprise when he got there. And the Governor Moore stated that, when he first got there, and they had a chance to take a look at the books over a year ago. So I don't know that this is a big surprise where we are. What is a big surprise is that the federal government is actually attempting to essentially undermine not just Maryland, but states and communities across the country. For example, we just heard about the $418 million in cuts to Maryland specifically with respect to reimbursements for public schools and things that we provide there. Another big hole in the budget. The Medicaid cuts would be another big one as well. I think that's roughly $1 billion impact potentially on a state like Maryland. And that's true across the country. That's the $881 billion in negative impact by those cuts to Medicaid. That would include things like cutting Title I teachers and, funding for seniors and healthcare for them, people with disabilities, children. The Medicaid cuts are dramatic and dangerous if they're allowed to go through. Fortunately, the Republicans are starting to get the message that the public's starting to figure out what this would mean for them. And that's why you saw some of the angry town hall meetings in red states and red districts, even where Trump had carried the election by big numbers.
Congressman Glenn Ivey of the great state of Maryland, we appreciate you joining us here on Rising.
Thanks for having me.
Coming up next, judges are in the spotlight again. Are they being activists or are they upholding the law? We'll be back soon.